The man who formed the Australian Greens, Bob Brown, is bowing out of politics. The shock announcement was made to his party room and the media today. His replacement, Christine Milne, says the Greens' arrangement with Labor for minority government will not change and they'll seek to build on Bob Brown's legacy. But there's speculation his departure will have a negative impact on the Greens' support base. Heather Hewitt reports.
What do you want to know? In your hands.
What I'm interested in today is jobs and better infrastructure.
Nothing will come of this.
Campbell Newman is the new boy off the block. He's just come off a big election win.
State and territory leaders were just warming up at Parliament House this morning. The four Conservative premiers had the numbers and were preparing to flex their muscles for the annual COAG meeting with the Prime Minister. Little did they know they were about to be gazumped by a much bigger news event unfolding inside.
At 10 o'clock this morning, I informed my party room that I was resigning as leader of the Australian Greens in this Parliament, and I intend to leave the Senate. The party room has elected Christine to the leadership unanimously.
It was kept the tightest of secrets, a surprise to most in his party room, a surprise to the media and a surprise to the Prime Minister, who received a note in the Cabinet room as talks with state and territory leaders got underway.
I'm, of course, very sad to go, but I'm 67 and I'm aware that one should always make room for renewal in politics. A democracy is the healthier for the turnover of the depth of talent there is in its community.
It's not a common sentiment amongst political leaders these days, but then Bob Brown has always done things differently. He leaves declaring supreme confidence in the party he founded, that's played such a key role in minority government, including the formation of the carbon tax.
The Greens are on trajectory to become a future government, and our job isn't to make the so-and-sos honest, it's to replace them.
I'd like to begin by paying tribute to Bob as an absolutely remarkable and outstanding leader of this nation. It's going to take all of us in the Greens, both here in the Parliament and our membership around the country, to now build on that great legacy that Bob has left.
I think that Bob Brown has been a very strong force in Australian politics in recent years. I would say too strong a force in Australian politics in recent years.
I think Bob Brown has made a remarkable contribution to Australian politics. Clearly, I don't see eye to eye with Senator Brown on a range of issues, but you'd have to say he's lived a life in Australian politics, an interesting life, a life starting with his environmental activism around the Franklin Dam.
It was Bob Brown's successful campaign in the early 80s to block the Franklin Dam in Tasmania that thrust him into the national spotlight.
The High Court in Brisbane has ruled that the Gordon below Franklin Dam cannot be built.
A career in the Tasmanian Parliament followed, and then the Senate beckoned.
This is a monumental breakthrough for the Greens.
This champion of the environment, gay rights and refugees did win it in 1996. He was never any stranger to controversy. When other Greens joined him in Canberra, he became parliamentary leader of his party, changing the political landscape, much to the annoyance of the major parties. He won't be an easy act for his replacement, Christine Milne, to follow. Bob Brown, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Heather.
Why quit now? Were you keen to upstage the premiers or what?
No, not at all. In fact, I made this decision with partner Paul while I was away a fortnight ago, and I didn't know, frankly. I knew we had a party room meeting now, but I didn't know that the Premiers' Conference was on. But it's a decision that's been some time in the coming. life in politics has been a very rewarding one for me, and I'm very pleased to have the Greens in such good stead. But the Tasmanian Greens have forced my hand to a degree because they've decided that they would be pre-selecting for the next elections next year for the Senate in the next month or two. So I had to say yes, I will, or no, I won't. And I've decided rather than say yes, I would and not go for 6 years, because I'll be 73 at the end of that. I decided I'd clear the decks and say, thank you very much. This is my time to retire and to do some other things that are important to me in life.
It's a decision that you must have agonised over. What's the overwhelming feeling that you have right now? Is it one of relief?
It's of a real pride in the team I have with me, and that the leadership which is taking over, Christine Milne, who's been my friend for the last 35 years through politics in state and the federal arena and globally. It's just a great pleasure to know that the Greens are in such good hands as I move on to do the other things I want to with partner Paul and in terms of adding, because I'll be green while ever I draw breath, Heather, and I have every intention to using my time to supporting the Greens here and elsewhere around the world.
Well, on that point, not so long ago, you suggested that you were in for the very long haul as leader of the Greens, and you cited as an example the longevity of Rupert Murdoch. What changed?
Well, yeah, that was 18 months ago, and then I looked and I said it'd be 2024 before I caught up in age with Rupert, who's now 81 or so. But then I saw what happened to his career in the intervening 18 months, and I thought...
Could you see that happening to you?
Look, I think we can outstay our term in office, and I think it's... I've seen that often in politics. I've also lamented when people I've really admired in politics have left in their own good time. But I think that's the... we're a robust, healthy democracy. There's many, many talented people in our community. I think we should have more turnover.
But you are seen very much as the man who founded the party, as its public face and its heart and soul. Can the party continue to attract the same support with you gone?
Yeah, it will do, and more so. And I think also...
Is that perhaps wishful thinking?
No, that's my assessment. I've been a pretty predominant leader of the Greens. In my view of how politics works, take somebody like me away and the talent behind will bloom.
And yet when Don Chipp, for example, quit the Democrats, the party that he founded, that party eventually folded. Can you see that happening here? Because he was a very strong leader too.
No, I don't see that happening here, because the difference is the Greens have a charter and a philosophy which is to make our society sustainable in terms of the biosphere and the resources we use, so that we can hand on security in the future to our children and our grandchildren. The Democrats had a philosophy of keeping the bastards honest. We want to replace them, so to speak, so that we can make life much more secure, safer, fairer, and with the environment intact.
Do you have regrets then about not being able to carry on with that kind of work and that kind of concern? You're at the peak of your powers with a key role in minority government.
Very much so, Heather. I'd like to be Methuselah, but I'm not. I look in the mirror and I know that life's got a limited trajectory to it.
What have been the highlights of your time in Parliament, but particularly through this period of minority government? What do you see as the big achievements?
Of course, there's the environment, the protection of Tasmania's forests, a job that's far from finished, but also bringing into the equation social justice and getting up that carbon package, which is all about social justice. People in Australia are going to be compensated through taking money off the big polluting companies and giving it to householders and to people on low incomes and so on. It's a very fair arrangement, but it will prevent our grandkids having 20% of their wealth stripped off them trying to tangle with the runaway problems of climate change. We're a far-sighted party. I want to also see high-speed rail. I'm frustrated that hasn't... I'm frustrated we haven't got euthanasia laws in this country. We haven't yet got Denticare, although it's on the way. We don't even have equality in marriage, for goodness sake. the Greens on all those matters are with the majority.
Is that one of your greatest frustrations? Because you talked today at your news conference of what it was like being a gay man in the Tasmanian Parliament all those years ago.
Yeah, I came out, so to speak, in 1976. No, one of the joys for me has been to see the change of times, where instead of abuse and recrimination and people committing, well, they still do, suicide over the failure of us all to accept their sexuality or their other difference in society. We're much more a society that celebrates that difference now. And when I go to weddings, conventional weddings, and have people apologise to their same-sex friends who are there, who aren't allowed that opportunity under law, I know this nation is way ahead of its other political leaders. And why Tony Abbott and Julia Gillard haven't caught up with the country there is well, strike me. Thank goodness I love being a Green again, and the fact that we do stand for that equality, and it will come, it's coming.
Do you think the major political parties may be pleased to see you go?
I think they'll be fooling themselves if they are, in that sense. I mean, I've had nice feedback from everybody, including Her Excellency the Governor-General and the Prime Minister today, and my colleagues. But beware if you think this is just about Bob Brown. It isn't. The Greens are not only here to stay, we're growing into the future. And I think one of the things I'm going to enjoy greatly, it's been in some ways it's been a hard slog. Kermit was right when he said it's not easy being Green.
Do you plan to have a bit of a rest in retirement?
Certainly. I've been talking with Paul today about a bit of a walk to the Harts Mountains. It's only a stone's throw from where we live, and I haven't been there for 30 years. With my trusty camera and my wonderful companion, I'm looking forward to that, and to visiting many other places that I've wanted to go to but haven't quite got to because of the pressure of politics.
Well, Bob Brown, we wish you well in retirement, and thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us in what I know has been a very busy day.
Thanks, Heather. It's a pleasure.